2 years since its historic vote for equal marriage, how has the country changed for its LGBTQ population? Has the increased visibility brought about through the referendum made a difference, or do old prejudices still prevail? Throughout this series, we'll highlight the breadth and colour of our community, our successes and supports, our talents and trailblazers, and discuss what it's like to be LGBTQ in Ireland.
My name's Aoife Ward and I am the auditor of UCD LGBTQ+ Society. Society was set up originally in 1988. They kind of took inspiration from Trinity Society. Trinity set up in 73, I think, or 72. So we kind of took inspiration from that, and they set up in 88. And at the time, because homosexuality was illegal, they ran it through our student union. So it was kind of set up through the student union, and then since then, it's gone from strength to strength, really, ever since then. And we're now currently the largest student LGBTQ+ society in Ireland. And we've won a gala, and we won 2 Student Society Awards here in UCD as well. So we're actually really proud of the society. It's going great for us.
And what are the objectives? Like, what do you aim to do with the society?
Well, really, it's a social society. We kind of aim to have it as a social space for members of the LGBTQ+ community to kind of come and be able to talk about things that affect them and just talk about their lives and meet other LGBTQ+ people and kind of have that environment, a safe space kind of environment where they don't feel judged and they don't feel like they can't say something or they can't be themselves. We also do a lot of kind of activism work. So last year, because of the marriage referendum, we ran, with the SU, we ran a Vote For Me campaign to kind of get people talking on campus about the marriage referendum, and we registered a lot of people to vote, and we do that kind of a thing as well. But yeah, primarily it's a social space, so we'll have coffee mornings and we'll go on nights out and we'll go to the cinema or something like that if there's any relevant movies being shown at the time, that kind of a thing. So yeah.
And what big events have you had recently?
Well, just last week we had an InterVarsity ball, so it was a bunch of the different LGBTQ+ societies in the greater Dublin area, and we all came together in Trinity. And it was kind of a great opportunity because we don't normally get to meet other student societies, or we don't get to hang out with them, kind of a thing. So it was really great to get to just be there and all of us just hang out and network. And it was a really great night, actually. It was Trinity done a lot of the organising, so a lot of credit to Trinity there. But
and you have an award ceremony coming up soon.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We have the Voice of One coming up now in 2 weeks. So it's really an award for someone in the LGBTQ+ community in Ireland, or in any country really, that's done a lot for the LGBTQ+ community. It's a mouthful. In the past year. So this year we have Una Mullally accepting the award for the work she done on the marriage referendum, all the great work she done on that. And then in past years we had the Rose of Tralee last year accepting it, and then the year before that it was the first year of the award, so we had Foy and Sapone accepting it then, and we named the award after them. So,
do you think it's become easier for LGBT youth compared to how it was just even 5 years ago?
Yeah, I definitely do think it's become easier. I mean, ever since the marriage referendum especially, I've noticed this year the first years coming to college this year, they seem a lot more open and accepting of who they are compared to how I would have been in first year even. And I've only been here 3 years. So it's definitely become a lot more open, and people are more willing to embrace their sexuality and their gender and be more open in discussing it. And I think it's because the marriage referendum cast such a light on the community that people now feel, because the marriage referendum passed and all that, people now feel a lot safer in being themselves because they know there's such a large percentage of the population that's willing to embrace that and accept them for who they are.
And do you think it's because college is a bit of a melting pot that you'll meet different types of people? Like, it's easier to be kind of gay in college than it would be in just say primary or secondary school?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, a huge thing for me personally when I first came here, because I'm from a small town in Donegal, so rural Ireland is typically not known for its open acceptance. I mean, where I'm from personally was great, but it's not known for its open acceptance generally. So I found that coming to college and just being in an environment, like even just having an LGBT society, is such a huge thing, because it's the first opportunity I had to meet other people that were queer in some way. And you find a lot as well in college that even other societies, it's just so much more open, and college is a much more liberal space in general. So even if there's people not in the society or whatever, they're a lot more willing to kind of get to know and embrace.
Like, have we a way to go? Do you think there is still kind of homophobic bullying and homophobic treatment at this level, like at college level?
Yeah, I think at any level you're going to find homophobia. I mean, it's something that's unfortunately so ingrained in society that at any level you're going to find it. And there is, I mean, there's certain aspects of it that's still present. I personally haven't felt persecuted really since I've come to college, but I know some of my friends have, and it's just because I do arts as well, so arts is a very liberal faculty a lot of the time. But I find that a lot of my friends that would be in other faculty, maybe engineering and places like that, wouldn't feel as openly accepted. But like, that is changing. I mean, even the SU this year, they're going to be running a campaign to kind of actively combat that. So it's great to see as well that college, like our students' union is taking an active stand in changing that, because it's such an important thing. But yeah, like, there's going to be homophobia, unfortunately, at every level of life. It's definitely less prevalent here than it would be in secondary school, because as well, people here tend to be a lot more mature. There's none of that childish homophobia kind of a thing going on. And
with the society now, like, can it grow, or is it just a case of maintaining this level? Like, where next can this society go?
We find as well this year that since the marriage referendum, we have grown a lot. We've gotten almost 200 extra members compared to last year, which shows that a lot more people now, a lot more people are coming out, and a lot more people are, even if they're not in any way LGBT, a lot more people are joining the society to show their support now. So that's a really great thing to see, and I think that's not necessarily the only way forward, but I think getting allies more involved in the society is a great way to go forward, because, I mean, it's allies that kind of won us the marriage referendum in the end. So it's great to see them getting more involved, and I think that would be a way to go forward, or even just seeing so many people coming out now I'd say it will continue to grow now in the next few years. Well, hopefully anyway.
My name's Jason Flynn. I'm the chairperson of Dublin Pride. Pride really is a platform organisation for the whole LGBTQ community in Dublin and beyond. So our remit is really to raise awareness of issues that affect the community, and run an annual festival, which, as well as being a celebration, also exists to highlight any issues that affect the community. So all kinds of areas covering things like equality, bullying, harassment, loneliness and isolation, all comes under the remit of what Pride does. And you see people who get involved in the festival say that, you know, it might be the first time they've ever been involved in anything to do with the community.
And if we take the day itself, like one of the main things would be the march or the parade. Could you tell us a little bit about the history of it and its evolution?
The Dublin Pride movement is really the Irish manifestation of what happened during the Stonewall riots. So it really gained momentum throughout the 70s, when, of course, homosexual acts were criminalised in Ireland. The origins of the Pride movement can really be traced back to 1974 with the emergence of the Irish gay rights movement. That was spearheaded by the likes of Senator David Norris and a few other activists who were very brave at the time in coming out and doing what they did, because technically gatherings of the nature of what they had were illegal in this country. And then the movement really gained momentum in 1983 following the ruling in the case of a man called Declan Flynn, who was beaten to death in Fairview Park, and the perpetrators of that case were handed 1 year suspended sentences. And that outraged a lot of people, not just within the community, but civil rights groups and trade unions and women's groups, etc. A lot of people got on board and staged a protest in March actually, of 1983. And then the following June, which was traditionally Pride Month, they staged another protest through the streets of Dublin. And that really set the precedent for what we now have as the Pride March, the Pride Parade.
And how did the festival start to build around that march?
I guess really what happened was it's linked in with the decriminalisation that happened in 1993, that suddenly people were able to feel that they could be themselves in public and that visibility was acceptable, that they were no longer under threat to behave the way they wanted to and identify as they wished to. That really provided the impetus for an actual festival to grow around the march itself.
And as time goes on, is it important to, make it celebratory as well as political?
Oh, I think so. I think, Pride will always have a political aspect to what it does, and that is necessary, because we must remember that we don't just cater for the community in Ireland. We look towards the likes of Russia and parts of Africa and places where, you see terrible scenes where Pride marches aren't even allowed to happen. But I think as well it's important, and it should always be a function of Pride, that we stop to remember what we've gained along the way as well, because we have gained a lot to celebrate. This year that's more apt than ever with the outcome of the marriage referendum, with the gender recognition rights coming through, and with talks of Section 37 being abolished and all of that. We do have a lot of gains. And since I've been involved with Pride, it has always been my idea that, while we do provide that platform and we fight for rights and for recognition and for visibility, we are a celebration as well. And I think we've been able to juggle and combine the two quite successfully.
And in your time with Pride, have you seen changes in public perception of the event itself?
Yeah, I have, very much so. And again, this year in particular, it's been quite noticeable. There seems to be an attitude that there's no longer any need for Pride now that the referendum has passed and all of those other things have been achieved. And I think that shows something of a misunderstanding of what Pride is and what it does, and where it came from and what it still has to achieve in the future. Then there will always be a need for Pride and what it does.
And this year it seemed like Pride had its biggest year. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I mean, it has been growing exponentially ever since around the year 2006, which is when it became incorporated as a limited company. And that gave us more power to do more with the festival. And I don't think it came as a surprise to anybody that for the year that it was going to be the biggest festival ever, because so many members of the community were so fully on board with it. But also what we saw this year, which is something we've been aiming at all along, but it was very, very noticeable this year, is that our straight allies felt they wanted to join us in celebrating. And that's something that I was more than happy to see happen, because the referendum passed largely because of our straight allies, because they went out and campaigned and crucially went out and voted on the day. So in a way, it made sense to have them involved. It was a way of thanking people for their faith and confidence in our community, but also they're part of the celebration. And Pride, in a way, it's moving beyond the confines, if you like, of the LGBTQ community, that it's for everybody now. Everybody has a stake in Pride because everybody has a stake in the community.
Hi, I'm Emma and I'm a member of Undercurrent.
And hi, I'm Ciara and I'm also a member of Undercurrent.
So I started doing drag or performance about 14 years ago, which is quite a long time now thinking about it. I had a chance encounter with a drag queen called Veda Borev on a bus coming back from Dunleary, where she was studying in the Fine Art College out there. And I had seen her show a couple of times in the George, and I thought it was really cool. But then I thought, oh, I'm a real girl, I can't do that. But I got chatting to her, and she was like, "Feck it, go on." So I started performing at Space Invader, and then at the Gristle Cabaret, which was on before Ham in the Pod nightclub, and then at Sunday Bingo and things like that.
My background is in live music, playing in bands. I've been in loads of bands over the years. And then I was also a busker for a while as well.
Well, we would describe it as seriously camp cabaret. It's very much a variety show or a review, and a burlesque in the old school sense of the word, what a burlesque was, because burlesque came out of variety and sort of music hall. So it is not like there's very little actual traditional burlesque in the sense of pretty ladies taking their clothes off, though there is some of that, but it is more that sort of bombastic comedy than it is traditional drag or cabaret.
And how did it come about?
Who should answer this one? I suppose we were both performers at the Hutch, which was in the basement in Panty Bar, about 5 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe 6.
And I used to, and I still do actually, perform with Bunny. You were performing there as well.
I was, and then unfortunately the Hutch kind of came to an end, and we were loving the kind of collaborative stuff that was coming out of working with different styles of performers, because the Hutch was mad. You never knew what was going to be coming up next on it, so we thought, God, it'd be great to keep that going and give people who don't really fit into the mainstream kind of drag scene somewhere to keep doing that, or to keep experimenting with other performance styles than what they were used to.
And with performance, could you tell us a few of the people that have been, probably come and gone, and then how do you recruit new members?
Sure. Well, we've had kind of the same core cast for quite a long time. Yeah, so there's Miss Fortune, who's our main burlesque artist, Ruby Noir, the live singer who performs with Kay all the time, and then Julian Mandries would be one of the drag kings, and our lovely boys. We've got
Johnny Blue Eyes
and
Guy
Liner,
and
Plastic
Steve.
Yeah.
Two little difficult questions for you now. What is the difference between drag and mime?
That is a difficult question. I think drag is like lots of performers lip sync. For everybody from like the traditional sort of Britney Spears to like people are dubbed all the time or have ADR on television. Like it's a sort of thing that nobody talks about. People understand lip syncing as an art form through drag, which is sort of necessarily gendered. There's no point in getting too political about it. I think the basic difference is that it's thoughtfully gendered.
And the other probably difficult one to answer is, what is it about the LGBT community and musicals?
You need to answer that one. I do not have a background in musicals. I was familiar with about 3 or 4 musicals before we started this thing. And my favourites would be like the rock musicals like Hedwig or Rocky Horror, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think the reasons why gays are so into musicals have probably changed over the years. I mean, musicals in and of themselves started as a sort of form of escapism during the Great Depression, when you think of all the like classic MGM sort of stuff. And, gays are very drawn to shiny things, but also that sort of tragic pathos, the Judy Garlands, the Marilyns, all that sort of stuff. So I think there's a deep affinity there with the sort of world of show, and it's shiny. And
what's your own love of musicals? Where did that come from? The same thing?
I've been watching musicals since I was tiny. Like at my granny's knee, kind of a Sunday afternoon. I was just so drawn to the glamour of it all. Like women don't tend to present themselves in that super glamorous way anymore. That very soft focus kind of 1930s or 1950s red lip, big hair, jewels for days, and nor do men either. Like a lot of glamour is being sucked out of the world, and I think musicals are sort of a doorway back into that.
Is cabaret pigeonholed as a gay event?
I don't think so. No. Not anymore. No.
Have you found it difficult, like trying to attract a straight crowd?
It's the opposite, actually. Yeah. We have trouble trying to attract a gay crowd. I would say about 75% of the people who come to see Undercurrent on a regular basis are, broadly speaking, straight.
And a slightly older crowd as well, which is very interesting. And
so what's next for Undercurrent?
For Undercurrent, well, we've been we're doing about 3 shows a year, and we'd love to take it to a slightly bigger venue, and that sort of thing, and could hopefully continue to grow it. Like, it is, it's very much as it is a show and a slightly commercial venture, it is kind of a community group as well, and that's as important as like making it bigger or more successful. I don't know if you measure the success of something like that purely in terms of like, what do we do with it? It's kind of fine as it is. Like, a lot of people are gaining the confidence to go off and work on other projects, like Kay doing the theatre.
Because it's really coming across that it doesn't seem like this thing would even happen if you didn't like love what you were doing.
Yeah, you'd wanna be doing it for the love of it.
It's a 24-number show, so it's
a big undertaking.
It's a long show. God, why do we do it? We're just crazy. Like, seriously, I wonder sometimes.
It's the best fun.
It is the best.